Chapter 236, Wife's Panic. Little Turtle. Su-ro was playing with her daughter in the toy room when she saw this message. Her phone slipped from her hand and fell to the ground. Fortunately, it was cushioned by the carpet and didn't break. She quickly returned to her room, closed the door, and sent a message, "Why would my husband go to see you? Are you deceiving me?" Soon after, she received a photo showing her husband, Fang Hao, pouring tea for someone, alongside her father. Her mind buzzed, and she didn't know what to ask. "Your dad brought him here, probably wanting something from me, but he didn't ask for anything in the end. He just left. Little turtle, what a coward. Su, I want to see you now. Why did my husband go to you? He's intelligent, he wouldn't go for no reason." "He's intelligent? Nonsense. I don't care about him. He only knows how to pour tea and hand over water, a useless guy. Su, this is not like you. You're smart and lively. How did you get so nervous because of this little turtle?" My husband wants to divorce me. He's gathering evidence of my affair with you. If he finds out the truth, he'll divorce me without hesitation. Su, don't worry. He won't find anything. If I divorce him, will you marry me? Every time I ask this question, you act like a turtle hiding in its shell. Forget it, I won't ask. Where did my husband go? He left after receiving a call, saying there was an emergency at the hospital. Tell me what my husband said and did at your place. He didn't dare to say anything, just poured tea and handed over water. That's impossible. My husband can't be so quiet. Little Su, if you elevate Little Turtle, I won't be happy. I don't want to see you tonight unless you beg me. Boring. Su-ro closed the messages, deleted the person from her WeChat, and felt that something was very wrong. Her husband wouldn't go without a reason. If he went and said nothing, did nothing, it was abnormal. Her husband was smart and observant. Perhaps he had sensed the truth in the details. He mentioned having evidence of her affair. Now, by going there, he might be trying to confirm it. Oh no. Has her husband unknowingly delved so deeply into the investigation? Feeling that she couldn't just sit and wait, Su-ro informed her mother, made arrangements for the children, and left directly. She estimated the route Fang Hao would take from the outskirts back to the hospital and waited at a specific location. However, after waiting for a long time, almost an hour, she didn't see Fang Hao's car. Suddenly, she thought of something. She called Yue Xia, asking her to go to the pathology laboratory and check if Fang Hao had been there. About 10 minutes later, she received feedback that Fang Hao's car appeared below the laboratory building. Indeed, her husband didn't go to the hospital. Why did he lie? Su-ro quickly rushed over to the laboratory and found campus security patrolling below. After inquiring, she learned that Fang Hao's office had been burglarized. Did her husband receive a call from campus security halfway and rush over? No, that didn't make sense. Fang Hao should have discovered the theft, reported it, and then campus security came to investigate. With doubts in her mind, she arrived at the laboratory and saw Fang Hao. "Honey, what's going on? Did you lose something?" The hard drive of the computer mainframe was removed. "Why are you here? Go back, let the children stay at your parents' place. I have something to do tonight and won't go back," Fang Hao said indifferently, his tone very cold. "The hard drive? Were they stealing data?" Su-ro asked. In fact, Fang Hao's computer was over 2 years old, and the model was outdated. However, since Fang Hao used it for his thesis, the data on it was valuable. Let campus security check the surveillance footage to see who came here. She couldn't understand why someone would dismantle Fang Hao's computer. What were they trying to find in Fang Hao's computer? Seeing that Fang Hao didn't intend to speak, she wanted to ask him why he went to the countryside sanatorium, but she was afraid of making things worse. She said a few words to remind Fang Hao to take care of himself and then left. On the way on campus, she was stopped by Yue Xia, so she let Yue Xia get in the car. "How is Fang Hao?" Yue Xia asked. "The hard drive of the computer was removed, and I don't know what data he lost. He doesn't want to go home tonight. Stay and keep an eye on him for me. That was me who removed it." "You? Why did you dismantle his hard drive? What do you want to get?" "There are photos of me and Tiange at the beach in his computer. I had to find them and destroy them, or he would continue to threaten me. I deleted them, but I was afraid he knew how to recover data. So, I had to remove his hard drive, and I've thrown it into the lotus pond." You're really foolish. If he has photos, they won't only be on his computer. What he can show you surely isn't his last trump card. But forget it, I don't know what to say. Su Ro was so angry that she even felt nauseous, and she vomited. Yue Xia handed her tissues and gently patted Su Ro's back. She asked, "Little Ruji, what's going on with you? Are you uncomfortable? Do you want me to take you to the hospital?" "Foolish. This is my pregnancy reaction. Why go to the hospital?" Su Ro took water from the car, rinsed her mouth, got back into the car, and said, "Yue Xia, act like a human. Look at the trouble you've caused me since you appeared. Little Ruji, your trouble has nothing to do with me. I'm going back to rest." Yue Xia's face looked displeased as she got off the car and left. But in her heart, she was confident and proud, thinking, "Su Ro, the more trouble you cause with Fang Hao, the greater my chance of replacing you." "Su Ro, you can't panic." Up until now, Su Ro had been consoling herself in this way. The phone rang, and it was a call from Zhou Yun. She was a bit surprised but answered it, saying, "Sister Yun, why are you calling me?" "Zhou Yun, the usual place, come for tea." "No, I'm busy tonight. I have to take care of my child and also look after my mother." "Leave the child and home to your husband. I've reserved a spot, come over." "Sister Yun, I'm in a bit of trouble and I can't leave home." "What trouble? Tell me, and I'll help you solve it." "My husband doesn't trust me anymore. He wants a divorce." "Divorce? So sudden and serious. Is it because of that person?" "Yes. My husband may have really found out." "If your husband knows, that's indeed not good. Tomorrow, I'll talk to your husband." "Sister Yun, don't talk to him. Anyone who talks to him now will only make him more suspicious." "Don't worry, he's getting treatment for my migraines. It's only been one course, and there are 2 more to go." "In that case, don't mention my situation to him too much, so he won't resent you." "So, you're not coming tonight?" "No. I'm really tired now and just want to rest well, protect the pregnancy, and smoothly give birth to these twins for my husband." "But isn't your husband going to divorce you? Aren't you just adding a burden to yourself?" "I don't know. I don't know how to explain. I just feel that if I don't have this child, my husband and I really have no future. If I have a child, even if something unexpected happens in the future, I still have a chance to be with my husband. He's a man who cares a lot about family and children." "Why would you think like this? Once a man divorces, he may not even want the child. Just thinking about divorcing my husband makes my heart ache. If we really divorce, I hope I still have a child as a reminder. It's the only bond he can't sever." "Sister Yun, I regret it now." Su Ro hung up the phone, tears inexplicably welled up, making it hard for her to see the road ahead. She quickly pulled the car over, leaned on the steering wheel, and silently cried. Chapter 237, Agreeing to Divorce. "Su Ro, let me see. The bastard who betrayed me 4 years ago, was he really Xingling Tian, that old pervert?" Having extracted samples from the cigarette butts and other saliva material left by Xingling Tian, as well as prepared the DNA from Li Xiaoxi's husband's warehouse, Fang Hao began injecting samples into the rapid DNA testing device. In addition, another electrophoresis instrument was ready for comparison and identification with Fang Jiejia's DNA sample. This time, he opted for rapid DNA testing, which would yield results in about 3 hours. 3 hours that felt like an eternity for Fang Hao. He hoped for success to confirm Fang Jiejia's biological father, thus identifying the man with whom his wife had an affair. Then, he would proceed to take revenge. But he also feared success because it meant losing his beloved wife and daughter. In the agonizing wait, every second felt like an eternity for Fang Hao. Finally, the results appeared on the computer screen at the other end. Indeed, it was him. Seeing the results, Fang Hao felt the strength drain from his legs. He sat on the floor, leaning against the lab bench, not collapsing completely. Unable to hold back, he cried. "Su Ro, you've caused me so much pain. You've put a green hat on me. You've insulted me so much. On our wedding night, how could you defile me like this? Su Ro, you're despicable. You're finished. Xingling Tian, you're finished. If I don't kill you, I'm not human." That night, Su Ro also couldn't sleep well, constantly waiting for her husband Fang Hao's call. But he never answered the phone. The spacious, luxurious, and comfortable bedroom felt incredibly lonely at this moment. As dawn approached, her eye corners twitched, giving her a premonition that something unpleasant was about to happen. Unable to sit still, she walked back and forth in the bedroom. Her daughter woke up, followed by her son and Xiaohu. The children began a new day. Su Ro guided them in washing up, urged them to eat breakfast, and then took them into the car, driving them away from the villa. Suddenly, at the corner of the road outside, she saw a familiar Mercedes, her husband's car, with her husband sitting inside. She quickly parked the car and ran back. Seeing Fang Hao's haggard face, red and swollen eyes, and bloodshot pupils, she was shocked and asked, "Husband, what happened to you? Why do you look like this? Did you not sleep all night? I'm waiting for you at our newlywed home. Let's talk there." Fang Hao suppressed his emotions and spoke calmly. "Husband, talk about what?" Su Ro was flustered. The more disheveled Fang Hao looked, the shorter his words, and the colder and more indifferent his tone, indicating that the situation was getting worse. "Divorce. Husband, don't bring up this topic so early in the morning. I'll call the children over, have them sit in your car, and we'll go together to send the children. Then, we'll return home and discuss it." Su Ro parked the car by the roadside, asked the children to come over, and said, "Dad, I miss you." "Dad, I miss you too." Jia Jia and Tian got into the car, touching Fang Hao's hair from behind and gently pinching and tugging at him as they passed, saying "Dad" one after another, showing a lot of intimacy. Fang Hao remained silent. "Dad needs to focus on driving. Sit properly and don't disturb Dad." Su Ro observed Fang Hao from the passenger seat, feeling that he was so cold, distant, and terrifying at this moment. "It's over, my husband must know about Ling Tian's existence." "Su Ro, what should you do?" Su Ro turned her head to look out the window, tears uncontrollably flowing down for no apparent reason. On the way to the kindergarten, Fang Hao and Su Ro remained silent. If it weren't for the children, the tense atmosphere might have exploded. At the kindergarten entrance, watching the children happily enter, Fang Hao's heart was stabbed again. After today, his daughter Fang Jiejie would no longer be his daughter, they might never meet again because she would become Ling Tian's daughter. For 3 years, he had poured all his paternal love into the child he had raised from infancy, changing diapers and cleaning up after her. In the end, she turned out to be someone else's daughter. This outcome was like a sharp knife, piercing his heart. From now on, every thought of it would tear the wound open again. It was enough to make a person repeatedly collapse. Neither Fang Hao nor Su Ro knew how they got back, how they entered the house. They didn't speak a word. If it weren't for the construction noise from the floor above and below, their world would have turned completely silent. Fang Hao entered the study, took a divorce agreement and a pen, and went to the living room. He said to his wife, "I already know who your lover is, Ling Tian. So, don't deny it. Sign it. Husband." Hearing the 3 words from Fang Hao, Su Ro felt as if a judge had just pronounced the verdict, and a heavy hammer had struck, finalizing the judgment. She kneeled down, clinging to Fang Hao's legs, and said, "Husband, can we not divorce? Give me another chance. I love you wholeheartedly. I will love only you from now on." Slap. Fang Hao slapped her angrily and shouted, "If you don't sign, I'll tell your parents, your relatives, and friends about your affair. Let's see how many people will bless you. You adulteress." "Husband." Su Ro bit her lip, enduring the pain, not resisting, and said, "Husband, give me some time. I will definitely give you an explanation." "What? Still want to delay? Well, you need to discuss it with your lover, right? See if he'll marry you. Go, the sooner, the better he agrees." Fang Hao sneered, not expecting this woman to agree to the divorce immediately. Otherwise, it wouldn't be her. "Not like that, husband, it's not like that. I need to prepare some money. I want to compensate you." "Husband, believe me, I love you, Don't say such disgusting things. Sign immediately." I will sign for you later. I will go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with you." "Husband, don't be angry. You are not in good mental condition. Rest for a while. I will definitely give you an answer. Go discuss with your lover." Fang Hao entered the bedroom, packed up his daily clothes, and so on. "Husband." Su Ro sighed and, holding the agreement, left the house. A bitch. Sure enough, she went to that old pervert. Hearing the door close, Fang Hao's heart still trembled. He packed things into a bag, took them down, and stuffed them into the car. After packing up the study, he took away his personal belongings, rejecting everything his wife had bought for him. Every time he saw these things, he would be reminded of the humiliation she brought him, igniting his anger. Half an hour later, Fang Hao received a call from his mother-in-law. He hung up directly, but she called again. He answered and said, "What's the matter?" His mother-in-law said, "Fang Hao, I'm tracking Xiao Ro. She's heading to the outskirts. She should be going to see that man. Hurry over." "Tracking Su Ro?" Aren't you afraid of seeing Ling Tian directly, being angered to death? Fang Hao said, you're unwell. Why are you bothering with this? She's going to see Zhou Yun. Come back, I already know who that person is. Su Ro has agreed to a divorce. What? You know who it is? Agreed? How did she agree to it? Fang Hao, are you mistaken? Why did you let her agree to a divorce? You, a country bumpkin, you're nothing. Mom. Fang Hao heard his mother-in-law's hoarse and choked voice on the other end. She had obviously cried. This sudden turn of events made him feel like crying too. He quickly hung up the phone. Chapter 238, You Disgust Me. In the backlit sanatorium, Su Ro got out of the car and rushed in. Inside, Ling Tian had been waiting. He embraced her and kissed her passionately. However, after a moment, he felt that Su Ro was just standing there, not reaching out to wrap her arms around his waist. She didn't respond to his kiss, and her lips were cold. There was even something wet flowing on her cheeks. He felt a sense of unfamiliarity, as if she was just a tool to him. He let go of her, looked down, and found the stunning beauty in front of him, crying. Ling Tian furrowed his brows and wiped away Su Ro's tears, asking softly, Su, what's wrong? Why are you crying? I'm here for recuperation, and I'm perfectly fine. I felt better last night. I went to look for you, but you didn't come out. I waited for an hour. I haven't gone far, I've been around you all the time. Ling Tian, Fang Hao knows about your existence. He has confirmed everything between you and me. He asked me to sign this divorce agreement, otherwise, he will expose us. Tell me quickly, what should I do? Su Ro choked up, her shoulders trembling. Ling Tian embraced her and, feeling her tears, couldn't help but become worried. He said, what's going on, Su? Why did Fang Hao suddenly decide on a divorce? I'll make sure he can't stay in Jiangdong City. Upon hearing this, Su Ro shuddered and said, do you want to threaten my husband? Are you crazy? Do you want him to act recklessly? My husband is a smart man. If you threaten him, he'll immediately know it's about me. He won't hesitate to expose our affair, creating a huge scandal. By then, he can leave Jiangdong City, return to the countryside, or go wherever he wants with his medical skills. Moreover, Lu Yu, Zhang Jun, and the others won't stand idly by. Xiao Yiheng, Qingyu's aunt, is currently undergoing treatment by him. My mother also needs his treatment. Are you going to turn against them too? How am I supposed to face all of that? I didn't expect little turtle to grow up. Ling Tian furrowed his brows even deeper. The glint in his eyes flashed and disappeared, showing a profound and somewhat ironic expression. Su Ro had to admit that Fang Hao had indeed grown up. He could now stand on his own. She was relieved that she hadn't chosen the wrong man. Only an outstanding man like Fang Hao could win her heart. However, she also felt a bit regretful. If she hadn't accidentally chosen the excellent Fang Hao, she could have effortlessly enjoyed her affair, living a life of excitement and pleasure. Now, she had to make a choice. She said, Ling Tian, I came here to ask you, do you love me? Love? I love you. I want to love you right now. Will you marry me? Su, why are you asking this again? Aren't we happy together? Can't you feel my love for you? You should know that I'm willing to do anything for you. But I have to give Fang Hao an explanation now. I can't delay any longer. He knows I've come to find you. Maybe he'll call me later, demanding an explanation. Turn off your phone. Ling Tian, it's not about turning off the phone. The key is that he'll be waiting for me at home. If I don't show up and give him an explanation, he'll tell my parents about our affair. What should I do? Su, why are you so afraid of little turtle? If you marry me, I won't be afraid of anything. Even if the sky falls, I won't be afraid. Tell me, will you marry me? Su, I just want to love you. Ling Tian moved in to kiss Su Ro. Su Ro used her hand to block his mouth and said, tell me quickly if you will marry me. If you promise to marry me and we get married, I'll immediately divorce Fang Hao. Then, you can love me in any way you want. Hurry up and say it. Su, why are you forcing me? Pa! Su Ro slapped Ling Tian's fair and jade-like face, leaving 5 distinct fingerprints. She shouted angrily, say it. Will you marry me? Say it. Su, you've become neurotic. You're not behaving well. Pa! Su Ro slapped Ling Tian's other cheek with her backhand. Tears streamed down her face as she screamed even louder, you liar. If you won't marry me, why did you provoke me? Why did you ruin my happiness with my husband? You've ruined me. You liar. Su, don't go. When you hit me just now, it gave me a certain feeling. Don't go, I want to love you now. Zhang Lingtian reached out to embrace Su Ro, intending to kiss her. Get lost. You never intended to take responsibility for me. You make me sick. But Su Ro's knee came up, hitting Zhang Lingtian square in the groin. Seeing Zhang Lingtian covering his private parts and kneeling on the ground, she was momentarily stunned, quickly retreated, and then ran out. She got into her car and left quickly. Su Ro, you're really foolish. You know he won't marry you, yet you still ask him? He only wants your body. He just wants to fulfill his perverted fantasies. Su Ro, think of a way quickly. If you go back like this, you'll end up divorcing your husband. Your husband won't forgive a woman who has cheated. He won't. The child? Right, I still have your husband's child in my belly. I need to make your husband believe that the child in my belly is his. Su Ro thought about a lot in the car, feeling a bit absent-minded. Unconsciously, she crossed the line and almost collided with a car coming from the opposite direction, frightening her into quickly pulling over to the side. She forced herself to calm down and then quickly thought of a plan. She called Qingyu and went to see her immediately. Qingyu was still at home and, seeing Su Ro and the divorce agreement from Fang Hao, said, "This Fang Hao is a smart guy. He proposed the most favorable conditions for him, and it's also the most acceptable for you. Any woman who sees this would sign without hesitation." "I won't sign. I won't sign even if I die. Think of a solution for me, Qingyu. What should I do? What else do you have? My husband knows everything between me and Ling Tian. I can't defend myself, and he's threatening me with divorce. I have no way to salvage the situation. The twins in my belly are my husband's. What are the chances of winning back my husband's heart with this? Does he believe that they're his children? No. Then prove it to him. Go for a paternity test. Prove that they are his children. This way, even if he causes a scene again, I can reject him using this reason. Paternity test? Okay, what do I need from my husband? The best material for the test is blood. When he sleeps tonight, quietly draw a little blood from him. Or, today, I can help you get some. He'll be treating my aunt this afternoon, and we can find an opportunity to sedate him and take some blood. Must it be this way? Of course. If your husband isn't a fool, he definitely won't agree to a paternity test. He'll insist that these children are yours and Ling Tian's. Then, he'll be in an unbeatable position, forcing you to sign the divorce. Even if it's later proven that the children are his and he achieves his goal of divorce. Okay, what you said makes sense. Xiao Ro, is the problem really with your husband and not Ling Tian? During this time, I've only been with my husband. Ling Tian, he couldn't perform. He could only touch, but couldn't penetrate. Chapter 239, I've got you. On the other side, Fang Hao initially thought about putting his things in the laboratory. However, upon second thought, realizing that he was about to divorce his wife and would be responsible for raising his son, he couldn't have his son living with him in the laboratory. So, he decided to rent a nicer apartment. In fact, he wasn't short on money now. Although he couldn't afford the top-level villas like Tianji Peak, he could easily buy other houses with full payment. But he would have to buy a new house after the divorce. Inside the apartment, he lay down and fell asleep, unknowingly reaching the afternoon, awakened by Lu Yu's call. After freshening up, he quickly left. Lu Yu got into the car, smelling the aroma of fast food. She said, "You're having a hamburger to get through lunch? If you have time to cook, come to my place for a proper meal." "No need, I overslept just now." Changing the topic, Fang Hao asked, Director Lu had another conversation with the organizational committee leaders. "How did it go?" Lu Yu replied, "Just as your father-in-law hinted, there's indeed a big shot retiring, insisting on returning to recuperate in Jiangdong City. The National Health Department and the Provincial Health Department attach great importance to providing health assurance for this big shot's senior years. From what we've gathered, the top priority for the upcoming changes is that the heads of hospital departments must have excellent technical skills. Oh, and for the most anticipated position of Chief of Surgery, Huang Yidao, the top surgeon from the capital, will personally be parachuting in." Fang Hao was surprised. Huang Yidao is parachuting in. What about Director Gong? Transferred to Xiehe Hospital in the capital, as the deputy director of the surgery department, responsible for one of the departments. It's not like here at the Provincial People's Hospital's surgery department, where he had full control. However, the benefits have increased: a house in the third ring of the capital and his children get admitted to Beijing University. There's another thing, little Lu pushed you out, recommending you to run for the position of the hospital director. This Director Liu really thinks highly of me. Fang Hao felt a headache coming on. On one side, his divorce was imminent. If his father-in-law and the others blamed him, they might create obstacles. What about his wife? Would she accept it? As for his wife's lover, Xingling Tian, now unable to cuckold him, would he just accept it? Of course not. Even if the old bastard refused to give in, Fang Hao wouldn't let him off either. If his wife refused to divorce because, being a woman from such a high-level family, it would be a joke, and her new lover was an old man, she couldn't face her parents and elders, Fang Hao was also reluctant to divorce. The number one beauty in Jiangdong was his wife, giving him an invisible sense of success and increasing his sense of pride. Now that they were divorcing, his identity was that of a divorced man, no longer the son-in-law of the upper-class family. He was just a young man who had come from the countryside to the city to work hard. His self-confidence and sharpness would be reduced. However, his wife had an affair and no longer loved him. This marriage was no longer worth preserving. This wife was not worthy. Liu said, "You can really give it a try." Anyway, the higher-ups have already made it clear they want a doctor with excellent medical skills. The position of the hospital director involves many aspects, not just medical skills. For me, there's no hope for this. But I will go and try. Fang Hao also wanted to stand out. If he became the hospital director, not to mention the youngest director in the history of the Provincial People's Hospital, he would be the youngest director in Jiangdong City and even the whole country among the top-tier hospitals. Of course, being the director also meant taking on a great responsibility. We will also help you. Oh, regarding the situation with Mrs. Cheng, I studied it last night and wanted to discuss it with you, but your call last night didn't go through. Mrs. Cheng gave me good news this morning, her condition has improved, and she has confidence in your treatment. It's not so easy for her to stand up. The issues with her knee meniscus and joint ligaments are not small, it may require some minimally invasive surgery. Acupuncture is to clear the nervous system first, and then we need to repair the damaged bone and joints. Once both soft and hard components are restored, she can stand up. Considering her age, this treatment adds 2 orders of magnitude to the difficulty. Fang Hao continued, of course, what she values most is perhaps just being alive. If I don't treat her, her condition will only worsen, and once complications arise, her time may be up. You really understand it. Fang Hao, I'm curious, where did you learn your medical skills? How come you're so good? Liu realized that Fang Hao could grasp the psychological bottom line of these important patients. For treatment and medication, it meant not hesitating when making decisions. I'm not that good, I'm just standing on the shoulders of giants like you. Without the success experiences of you predecessors, those of us who came later wouldn't know how many detours we would have to take. Although I know you're flattering me, it feels good to hear. They chatted as they quickly arrived at Yue Bay. After going through security, they soon reached Mrs. Cheng's rehabilitation unit. Mrs. Cheng was waiting at the door. When she saw Fang Hao getting out of the car, he still looked so sunny and handsome. However, she couldn't help but think, you scumbag, look at your wife who's about to divorce you, her spirit is much worse. Your wife still has your 2 children in her belly, and you're abandoning her? Shameless jerk. Auntie Liu, please come this way. Mrs. Cheng led Liu inside, and as she turned back to Fang Hao, she gave him a fierce look, expressing that she was unwelcome. Fang Hao frowned slightly, having a premonition that this woman would cause trouble for him. He needed to find a way to deal with her. After entering, Fang Hao saw that although Mrs. Cheng was still lying on the bed, her complexion was better than yesterday. Moreover, the look in her eyes when she looked at him now contained unmistakable hope and appreciation. Dr. Xiaofang, you're here. Could you please treat the old lady again? Fang Hao nodded and went over to take Mrs. Cheng's pulse. Mrs. Cheng paid attention to Fang Hao's expression and found that there hadn't been much change since he entered. She became unsure, asking, Dr. Xiaofang, has my condition worsened? Fang Hao didn't answer directly but glanced at Chengyu. Then he said, Mrs. Cheng, the treatment is effective. If we continue the treatment, I am confident that by the Chinese New Year, you'll be able to stand up. However, he paused, not rushing to say it. However, what? Hearing that she could stand up by the Chinese New Year, Mrs. Cheng was genuinely excited, thinking that it was still 3 or 4 months away. Thinking about being able to stand up, she was truly thrilled. It's just that I have an abrupt request, and I need you to do it. It won't put you in a difficult situation, you only need to say a word to fulfill it. Of course, this request has nothing to do with the treatment. If you don't agree, it won't affect the treatment plan, but it will affect my treatment mood. I'm afraid of being off track. I'll tell you now to prevent you from blaming me later. You can say it. Starting today, have her step down from her official position, leave Jiangdong City, and she must not return until you can stand up. Fang Hao pointed to Qingyu. Qingyu was shocked, saying, Fang Hao, you're going too far. Mrs. Qing didn't like being threatened, so her eyes squinted slightly as she stared at Fang Hao, reassessing him. This young doctor had outstanding medical skills, but without medical ethics. At this moment, Liu sighed and said, Mrs. Qing, just comply with Fang Hao's request. Yesterday, when Fang Hao mentioned a friend getting a divorce, it wasn't his friend but himself. I've looked into it. The fault lies with his wife. His divorce petition was rejected just 3 days after it was submitted. Xiao Yu is a close friend of Fang Hao's wife, so without investigating the content of the lawsuit, she directly rejected Fang Hao's appeal, which is unfair. So that's how it is. Qingyu, go back, hand over your work, and then go to the party school. Grandmother, Qingyu dared not argue when Mrs. Qing gave her a fierce look. She turned back and gave Fang Hao a resentful glance. This man was unassuming, but once he acted, he struck directly at the vital points. No wonder Su Ro had been calm for several years. She also felt that she was well protected, almost like a wall that was impermeable. However, from the moment Su Ro was suspected of having an affair by Fang Hao, which was just 1 or 2 months ago, she was exposed by Fang Hao. Even Xing Ling Tian was dug out by Fang Hao. From Fang Hao's indifferent eyes, she also saw disgust and even disdain. It seemed that he was saying again, I've got you. Chapter 240, Playing the Family Card. Su Ro, your man is quite cunning. After Qingyu left, she walked for a while and arrived at a quiet pavilion where Su Ro was waiting. She told Su Ro about what had just happened, looking at her with some sympathy. Su Ro sighed deeply and said, my husband is too clever. Now that he's set on divorce, he will try to avoid any anomalies. You just happened to walk right into his trap. Even if you do a paternity test, I don't think it will change his mind. Qingyu said, but we shouldn't let him off so easily. That jerk, you don't know how insufferable he looked just now. Su Ro had a sudden insight and said, do you want to give my husband a beating? What? Hit him? Of course, I want to, but I'm a public servant, I can't resort to violence. Besides, he's helping my grandmother with treatment. If I hit him, and he pretends to be injured and counterattacks, I won't have a way out. Qingyu, now sly as a fox, suggested, I've come up with a plan. I'll have someone grab his head and knock him out. No, we can't hit his head. What if he becomes brain damaged? What will we do then? What I mean is, we don't need to resort to a low-success method like drugging him. Instead, we can have someone punch him in the nose. After his nose bleeds, we'll get the blood stains, and I'll use them for a paternity test. That's a good idea. It can teach him a lesson and provide evidence. Xiero, you're so clever. But you just said that even if it's proven the child is his, he still insists on a divorce. Does the test still make sense? It does. He thinks I've been lying to him all along, and I have many things I dare not confess to him. So, I'll find an excuse. But this time, I want him to believe that I've never lied to him about the fact that the child is his. Su Ro lightly bit her lip, her eyes showing determination. Alright, since you're so determined, I'll help you. I'll go find someone. Qingyu left and made a phone call to arrange things. Over there. After administering the acupuncture, Fang Hao stepped out for a smoke, also grabbing a quick bite of the remaining fast food burger. Liu stood by the window in the room, gazing for a while, sighing, and said, Qing Lao, it's the first time Fang Hao has made such a request. When he treated Han Yan, performed surgery on Zhang Jun, operated on Zhou Fun, treated Xiao Yiheng, etc., he never actively asked for anything. He is a pure doctor. This sudden request, I apologize on his behalf. No need. My eyesight is not bad, and I can see what kind of person he is. Besides, he has the qualifications. I have no personal connection with him. Why should he come over voluntarily to treat me? Just because he's a doctor, should he provide medical care unconditionally? I can't accept such benefits for nothing. In fact, his family dispute is his private matter, and it's inappropriate for Xiaoqiu to get involved. Qing Lao's face remained calm. She agreed with the description of Fang Hao as a pure doctor because just now, his acupuncture and massage techniques had stabilized her, and she felt a more pronounced response in her feet. Yue saw a young man outside coming to greet Fang Hao, seemingly asking for a cigarette. However, the young man threw the cigarette on the ground and punched Fang Hao directly in the nose, causing him to bleed. Why are they fighting? She hurriedly went outside. Meanwhile, Qingyu also came over, pulling the young man away and handing tissues to Fang Hao to stop the bleeding. She secretly felt satisfied. Xiaorou's plan had worked. Qingbin, why are you hitting people? Who gave you the right to do that? Yue recognized the person who hit Fang Hao. Wasn't it Qingyu's younger brother? Oh no, he's been recognized. Qingyu was surprised and signaled to her brother to run away. Qingbin didn't expect to be called out by someone, feeling like a thief caught in the act. He could only bite the bullet and run away. Hey, why are you running? I've already recognized you. Is it useful for you to run away? Yue shouted, seeing that Fang Hao's nose was still bleeding. She quickly went to her car, took out a hemostatic cotton, and helped Fang Hao stop the bleeding. Holding his nose, Fang Hao stared at Qingyu coldly and said, Qingbin? Are you from the Qing family? So, I'm treating Qing Lao, and then people from your Qing family come to beat me? You don't want me to treat Qing Lao, huh? Fine, I won't treat her. Let that old lady take responsibility for her life and death. Qingyu realized the problem and hurriedly apologized to Fang Hao. Fang Hao, it's not what you think. This is my fault, I was willful. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But you can't stop treating my grandmother. Whatever punishment you want to give me is fine, I beg you not to stop treating my grandmother. Is it up to you to decide? Get lost. Fang Hao's mood today wasn't good. His wife might be with her lover, planning their wedding and future life openly without having to sneak around. Although his wife had agreed to divorce, the nauseating scene would still make him uncomfortable. Moreover, Qingyu was an accomplice of his wife, and there was no need to be polite to her. He went to the side to clean up the bloodstains. Aunt Lu, help me say something. Qingyu sought Lu Yu's help. Xiaoqiu, you're letting the doctor treat your family member, but you're also having someone beat him up. Is this how you conduct yourself? You're a judge, yet you seem ignorant of the law. Tomorrow, Fang Hao and I won't come. You can explain to your grandmother yourself. Liu didn't want to bother with Qingyu and went over to Fang Hao, saying, Do you want to go to the hospital to check? Is your nasal bridge broken? It's fine. Just a bit of bleeding. Later, when you go in to withdraw the needle, start from the feet and work your way up. If the old lady is fine in 10 minutes, we'll leave. Fang Hao gave some instructions. Fang Hao, you go back first and rest. I'll have someone come to pick me up later. Liu felt sorry for Fang Hao and didn't want to involve him in more trouble. Fang Hao nodded without saying much and left first. He called Su Ro, and when she answered, he said, We've been discussing for a day. Is everything settled? Have you signed the papers? Let's meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Husband, I've come back long ago. I haven't done anything to betray you again. Give me a little more time, okay? Su Ro, at this point, you're still hesitating. Is that interesting? Do I need to go to your parents and confess for you to listen to me? What you've done is a family ruin for us, but in your parents' eyes, it might be a tragedy. Husband, give me just a little more time, okay? This time, I won't hesitate or resist. I will definitely sign. How much time do you need? 3 days. Just 3 days. If I can't do it in 3 days, I'll die in front of you. Husband, Tian is our child. According to the divorce agreement, once I sign, you will take him away. You probably won't let us see each other easily. I'll miss him a lot. Let us, mother and son, spend 3 more days together, okay? Indeed, playing the family card. Fang Hao said, Hey, Su Ro, I know what you're trying to do. Do you really think that after 4 years of your affair, after betraying me for 4 years, giving you 3 more days will erase the past? Everything today is the result of your own actions. Husband, I was wrong. I admit my mistake. Give me 3 days, just 3 days, okay? 3 days later, if you don't sign, I will completely break ties with you. No one will have a good time. I will do as I say.